Hi, Sagittarius. It's Jen with Bohemian Path Tarot, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing September tarot readings, and I've got the Tarot of Mystical Moments here. It's got a gorgeous glossy finish, and I just mentioned that because sometimes it's got a little glare, so do pardon the occasional lens flare. And I also wanted to mention that these are general readings for a general audience. So it's not quite the same as a one-to-one reading. Sometimes the readings really resonate. Sometimes there's just a general nugget or two of inspiration. Do check out the videos for your sun sign, your rising sign, and your moon sign if you know those placements. That helps give you it helps to give you a fuller picture. And finally, I skip over the shuffling part just because I give it a really good long shuffle, and it's kind of a solemn event. And I just think I just think you'd rather get to the good stuff right away. So I'm going to give the deck a good shuffle, and I will meet you in your reading in just a second. See you there. Okay, Sagittarius, let's see. Queen of Swords. King of Cups. The Moon. The World. Wow. Sagittarius. Okay, so you've got two peoples with the Queen and the King, and you've got two major arcana. What's going on? Okay, so the major focus is the major arcana card, the World, which is pretty much closing out a cycle and starting anew. I always mention this when the World card comes up because it's always true for me. When I used to do parties, I used to do like baby showers, and the World card would always come up for the mom-to-be, because the World card is all about that liminal moment as you're about to change roles. You know, when you're at a major like milestone. So like when you're a mom-to-be, and you're just about to transition from being one person who's just in charge of kind of their own person to now being in charge of another life. Like for the rest of your life, you're always a mom, right? That's a whole new life role. It changes you forever. That's a significant milestone. There's a whole new sort of series of lessons you learn once you cross that threshold, when you move from being just the single person to the mom module, right? It's the same like when you graduate high school and you move into either the real world, or maybe going to college, or maybe going, doing a gap year before going to college. There are these moments in our lives where we transition into something new, where everything just kind of changes, where we can't be what we were before. And it's a different octave of the Death card. If you're familiar with the Death card, the Death card is another card of transformation. But this absolutely closes out one cycle, and you have to become something new at this point. So Sagittarius, the fact that this is coming up for you and coming up in this position, this sort of main focus or main energy, suggests that there's a big shift happening in September, where you're at the precipice of this significant change. And what's interesting is around this is other people and this other, major arcana cards. Major arcana cards are always, big sort of shifts or big sort of internal workings. And then we've got these other people that are kind of factoring into what's going on with you. The other cards in the tarot, like the Six of Swords or the Four of Wands or whatever, those are kind of like the kind of plot points. They're just like the daily cards, the day-to-day cards, right? So you don't have any of that day-to-day kind of stuff happening in your reading. It's people and like these big shifts. So now, whatever this kind of precipice is, it's going to be different for different, I shouldn't say precipice, that sounds really ominous, right? This could be something really beautiful. Obviously, not all of you are about to become a mom. No matter your sort of gender or expression, no matter where you're at in your life, this could be retirement, this could be graduation, this could be, getting married. This could even be quitting a job without having another job. This could be getting divorced or asking for a divorce. It could be a lot of those sorts of milestones. But for different Sagittarians, this is, hitting at a different point in your life, right? Because these are just general readings. But for everybody, it looks like there's some sort of Queen of Swords involved. Now, this could be male or female, gender doesn't, gender non-specific, but this would likely be like a Libra, Gemini, Aquarius, someone who's typically more intellectually or socially available, not so much a emotionally charged person, but someone who is maybe active on social media, maybe the kind of person who's in other people's business, maybe even a little bit of a gossip or likes to know what's going on, what other people are doing, maybe has a bit of news for you or a bit of intel for you, or wants to know what's going on with you, maybe wants to give you some advice even if you don't want their advice. Sagittarius, I get the sense that this character is somehow involved in this shift, and maybe not in the most positive way for you. It seems like this might be a bit of nosy posy or nosy Parker, however that saying goes. Or this person might be prodding you on to do something that maybe you don't feel ready for. This could be like a friend or a sister or a mother. I do feel like this person means well, but it seems like it's not what you need at this time. I feel like the King of Cups is more supportive for you. And the King of Cups doesn't necessarily have to be a male type person. The gender isn't necessarily male, but this would be a more emotionally available person, to the point this could even be a therapist. But typically the King of Cups character would be like a emotionally available, like a Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio. And this would be someone who understands your depths, that sees your emotional journey or your emotional needs, someone that you can kind of be your full, like, emotional raw self with. Even though Sagittarius, I know you don't like to do that, but this is someone who you can just be messy with in those super, super, super rare occasions that you let yourself do that. And you might even not let yourself, it might or or it might be about this person, or with this person you are making this shift or this change or this new milestone, this new life milestone. Interestingly, the final card we have here is the moon. So, and that's also a kind of emotionally murky card, right? The moon is what happens, those things that kind of happen in the dark, the sort of instincts that we have that that we feel, that don't always feel great, that we don't feel like we're in control of. And the things that we don't feel in control of can sometimes feel scary. They can sometimes feel like they rule us. When Sagittarius, I know you'd much rather be in charge of what's going on, beneath. This can be sometimes the shadow stuff, right? The stuff that appeared from some sort of childhood event, or some sort of unresolved trauma that in fact this character can help out with, because they get it. They're not afraid of it. They're not afraid to go there. You can see the King of Cups. Again, this might be a male type person. Gender is not not important, but this person is also made of water, so they're comfortable. I'll show you the moon here. You can see the central character in the moon as is looking up at the moon, but there's all this going on, all this kind of aquatic stuff going on under the surface. So you can really rely on this person who also has this stuff going on, under this watery stuff going on underneath the surface. Wow, this person is kind of in this other place, right? This person can keep an eye on what's going on in the world. This person can keep an eye on the internet and the news of the day. So whatever information you might need from the internet, this is your contact there. But as far as what's going on underneath, this can be your guide if you need to do shadow work. Very often, the King of Cups can represent a therapist. So for anyone who needs some therapy, even if you haven't done that before, this is a good time to seek that out, or a reminder that is available to you. This could, for some Sagittarians, this might be a good time. This might be a reminder that maybe a 12-step program is appropriate. That's not for everybody, but maybe one or two of you might need to be reminded of that. But the moon is about a time when, the instincts kind of seem to be running the show. And it's absolutely, when you're making a transition, it can be a little scary, and sometimes the fears take over. But you don't need to be afraid of your fears. Sometimes this is something I always say too when the moon comes out. I grew up on a bit of property when I was a kid that was like an acre. And so even though I knew my property when the sun was out, when the sun went down, it was a different bit of property. It could be scary out there. You didn't know if there were like twigs or snakes or, animal. Well, you didn't know what you were stepping in, obviously, at night. So you had to be really careful when you were out in the yard. And you just couldn't play the same way out there at night as you did. And we couldn't light the whole bit of property. There were just dark places where you just had to be more careful. And so that's what the message of the moon. You just have to go a little bit more slowly. You have to be a little bit more cautious, and just be aware that there are some instincts you have in those places that that aren't well lit. But as you move forward from this sort of liminal place, you'll move into a place where the sun begins to rise, right? How about that? And you'll start to see new vistas, and you'll get a better sense of what you're dealing with, and you'll learn because you're moving into a whole new kind of phase, right? But you're ready for the transition. You have somebody to help you with the kind of messy depths, and you got someone to, I think you have to take whatever she says with a grain of salt. But she's watching out for the news and the internet for you, I think. Some other things I would say about the World card. For some Sagittarians, there could be an element of fame, like viral fame, because the World can indicate that sort of internet connection, something going viral, being seen by the world. That's not for all Sagittarians, but that can be a piece of what happens under this influence. For some Sagittarians, this can speak to travel. We also see that echoed, obviously, in the art of this particular card. She's on a hot air balloon, and in the artwork of this card, he's got a ship. So especially for those Sagittarians for whom travel is likely, just make sure that your passport is up to date, because it could include international travel, world travel. And then finally, the last thing I would say about this reading is, for some Sagittarians, the moon isn't necessarily, or isn't just about, those kind of scary instincts or, fears or shadow work. For some Sagittarians who are artists, this could also actually be a great time to use your shadow stuff, those kind of darker influences to create art. The moon can actually speak to artistic influences, or that kind of dreamy phase when inspiration is sort of on overdrive, and is a really good time for artists of all kinds, visual artists, writers, musicians, a time when you could actually be really prolific and inspired. But generally speaking, it looks like for most Sagittarians, no matter where it hits them, this is a phase, or September marks a time when there's a big shift, a big change, like some sort of milestone. So it might be changing a job, it might be getting married or getting divorced, retiring. And it looks like you have a couple of allies. One who's more sort of sassy, one who's more emotionally available. And then there's also a time here where you're aware of maybe feeling some fears, or being aware of this change and aware of, facing the unknown. But it's time for this change. You need this change, and this change is coming. Sagittarius, thanks so much for stopping by. Do take care. Until next time, bye for now.